Hello everyone, this is part 2 of our Halloween special. If you missed the first video, please click the annotation above to watch it so you're up to speed with what I'm talking about. But other than that, let's get into it. I've picked certain films that I thought were worthy of note for this subject. Films I see as directly referencing The Exorcist in different ways, whether it be visually or by plot device. But these films continue the cinematic mythos of demonic possession and add to it in their own right. So let's jump in. The first film that I think was a big hitter in the Hollywood demon mythos was the Evil Dead series, Sam Raimi's brainchild of the early 80s. I will also be including the 2013 remake in this example. In this film, a group of college kids go to a cabin in the woods for vacation and accidentally release ancient demons by reading Book of the Dead called the Necronomicon. Right off the bat, this is a similarity to The Exorcist. The Exorcist starts with an archaeological dig attended by the priest where artifacts of the later exorcised demon are found. Here, the evil is instantly given historical connection and shows that it is much older than any of the humans involved. In The Evil Dead, the work of the professor gives the exposition of the historical and ancient significance of the Necronomicon. It is true that the adversary and his followers are older than man, and that they do not die like we do. They were known of in ancient times and even worshipped as minor gods in some cases. Giving the demons this very old age excites our fear of the unknown, because we do not know what it means to be so old and immortal. It makes them seem more powerful and mysterious in this way. Evil Dead in many ways resembles The Exorcist. Young people get possessed by evil entities, with an emphasis on the women of the group. Another subject that actually goes way back into Western history and culture, and I'll touch on that another time. And when they are possessed, they resemble Reagan. Ghoulish skin, crazy eyes, inhuman abilities, and a change in voice. The major difference here is the way the demons, or deadites, are handled. Ash in Evil Dead physically fights these demons. He comes at them with literally a shotgun and a chainsaw. While I believe this gives a really interesting genre mix of horror and action, it is a complete deviation from the essence of The Exorcist, which is spiritually exorcising a spiritual force. Here, another way of fighting against evil is shown, one that is separate from God and making it completely secular, but also on the playing field of man, that is, our physical reality. Paul makes it clear that we do not fight the adversary with physical forces. For we do not wrestle against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. The fight against the devil is a spiritual one, more so to do with the intentions of the heart and the decisions we make to follow God. While it is fun and satisfying to watch a demon get chainsawed in the face while it rains blood from the sky, it's not quite that accurate. The next film I'm going to look at is Insidious, the first of the James Wan films on this list. I know it's a jump forward in time, but I'm keeping this as brief as possible. This year was my first time watching this film, and I found some of the elements really interesting. It is also a testament to how these types of films change with the times. The story begins with a family moving into a new house. Everything is fine until their son doesn't wake up one morning. At first, the family believes he's in a coma, though he doesn't show any of the normal symptoms of comatose. Things get progressively more weird and scary until the dad's mom sends in a friend who is a psychic. She informs the family that their son astral projects while he sleeps, and now he cannot return to his body, making him a vessel for evil forces that are fighting for it.
And he's unafraid because he thinks they're dreams. And it's that very lack of fear that has led him to travel too far in a place that I call the further.
What does that mean?
The further is a world far beyond our own, yet it's all around us. A place without time as we know it is a dark realm filled with the tortured souls of the dead. A place not meant for the living. And the problem is that with his astral body gone, he's just left us with a physical body, an empty vessel. That's why they're gathered around him.
Before we go any further, I know I am not including Poltergeist on this list, and I have a reason for this. We are looking at films about possession. While Insidious has a lot more in common with Poltergeist, the little girl in Poltergeist is taken body and soul, while the boy is left behind with foreign entities wanting to possess him. So there. This film brings to the table the idea of other dimensions or realms, something not explicitly discussed in The Exorcist, but is a part of Christian belief. In the Bible, God and his hosts inhabit a higher realm of dimension than man. In the book of Daniel, an angel has to travel through different spiritual kingdoms, implying another plane of existence. In 2 Kings, Elisha prays for his servant's eyes to be opened, and he is able to then see a host of angels that were previously invisible to him. In Insidious, it is possible to enter one of these dimensions through astral projection. Astral projection is a real practice attempted by people through meditation where they try to separate their consciousness from their body, or an out-of-body experience, technically. Once you astral project in the Insidious universe, you then wander around an area called the Further, or the Realm of the Dead, according to the film. Like I said, different dimensions realms are biblical. There's a greater spiritual reality that is invisible to our eye, but the Bible does not claim that the dead inhabit these realms specifically. God warns about contacting the dead, stating that it only leads away from his truth. Do not turn to mediums or necromancers. Do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. There is the story of the Witch of Endor, whom Saul goes to see and asks to conjure up the dead prophet Samuel. And then the possible ghost of Samuel rebukes Saul for doing such a thing. It is still debated whether or not this is actually Samuel. Some believe it is a spiritual being masquerading as Samuel, while others believe that it really is Samuel, but only making an appearance due to God trying to teach Saul a lesson, and not by the power of the witch. But the point here is that only God has the power over the living and the dead, and he has proclaimed for us not to try to breach the separation between the two. So the dead and the spiritual beings of Insidious exist in the same field, and they can only possess a living person once their body is vacant, much different from The Exorcist. There's also not a lot of clarity as to the differences between ghost and not ghost. We know that the Darth Maul guy is a demon, but the old lady is just called a parasitic force, which sounds demonic, but then it is implied later that she had been alive at some point, meaning she is really a ghost. The mix of lore here almost seems sloppy, like you were making up a scary story off the cuff. Like haunted house, and then ghosts. Wait, no, demons. No, ghosts and demons. Also, can we talk about that scene where they have the Darth Maul demon sewing in his room, listening to Tiny Tim with his eclectic vintage collection around him like he's a quirky manic pixie dream girl? To wrap up Insidious, it's much more mystical and new age in its viewpoint than The Exorcist or Evil Dead, relying on a lot of spiritualist and psychical explanations of things. It fixed its problem of possession through the mental and spiritual power of man rather than of God, which is a reflection of a cultural shift in interest in occult and mysticism. The second James Wan film I'm going to talk about is The Conjuring. The Conjuring is kind of special to me because it was filmed partly at my alma mater and really close to my hometown in North Carolina, but this film and its sequels are based upon real events and people. The Warrens were spiritual investigators and actually perform exorcisms from time to time. The Conjuring is a dramatized retelling of one of their earlier cases where a family is harassed by spirits in their new home. Mrs. Warren claims to be a psychic that can see spiritual beings, and they portray this in the film. The film follows in The Exorcist's footsteps by being based on real events, or at least semi-real events. It goes back to the Catholic roots by having the Warrens be Catholic and also describe the process of exorcising demons, though they also give a paranormal investigative approach as well. The film almost blends The Exorcist and Insidious in this way, where Christian belief is given credit, but a more paranormal belief in ghosts is too. Remember our talk about the gap between the living and the dead and not crossing it. Like Insidious, Wan puts a lot of different spiritual entities in the house, though it is explained that they are all connected to the spirit of a witch who cursed the house long ago. The practice of the occult and other rituals is considered dangerous and sinful by Christianity because it deals with knowledge that was not revealed to man by God. In the Book of Enoch, though not a canonized book of the Bible, there's evidence of these ancient demons teaching man magic in order to pervert God's creation, or bring evil to the world. One of these bits of knowledge can be assumed to be how to contact the dead, which we discussed earlier as bad. In The Conjuring, Bathsheba is someone who practices this forbidden magic, and even acknowledges that it is satanic in intent by sacrificing her baby to the devil.
You know what she did? She possessed the mother to kill the child. She visits Carolyn every night. That's what the bruise marks are. She's feeding off of her.
Child sacrifice is also recorded no-no in the Bible, as other ancient nations around Israel did it for their certain gods or spiritual beings that they worshipped, and God condemned it as a horrid practice. Here we see the occult as a way for demons to enter into people's lives and hurt them. This is also mentioned in The Exorcist, where Regan shows her mother the Ouija board, claiming to talk to an invisible presence named Captain Howdy. And while these films play up the power of these spiritual beings, there was a legitimate tie from the practicing of the occult to contact with the spiritual world, which is why God commands against it. Really quickly, I want to include Hereditary. This film looks at demons in a way that is important to discuss, and that is as objects of worship. Hereditary is about a woman whose mother belonged to a demonic cult, and because of this, her life is plagued by the demon Payman and the cult that worships him. In this film, the demon works through a group of loyal followers to accomplish his task of possessing a male host. It is implied in the film, though never stated, that the cult needs to do certain rituals and practices in order for Paimon to possess someone. This is not mentioned in the Bible as something that is needed by demons to attack someone, though there is a history of people summoning and contacting demons through rituals. Going off of this, Paimon is a real demon. When I found out about that, I was a little freaked out. Okay, a lot. But this is something that hasn't been touched on yet. The demons were, and still are, worshipped. In Old Testament times, different cities and peoples had different gods with which they sacrificed to and asked for help. Going back to the archaeological scene from The Exorcist. The Bible will sometimes talk about these other gods as entities, like they are real in a sense, though never as powerful as God and certainly never deserving of worship. People believe, and still believe, that they could wield some sort of power over their lives by appeasing these spiritual beings. In Hereditary, Paimon's cult is shown as having power over circumstances as well as people, but at the end of the film, the cult specifically asks Paimon to give them the power to conform others to their will, in essence, wanting to be gods in their own right. And this is so common of human nature. We so often fight against God for rule over our lives and our world. We constantly want to put ourselves as Lord over all instead of who needs to be there, which is Jesus. I wanted to do a video on Hereditary later because the film actually made me really sad for other reasons than what I'm talking about here, but it belonged on this list if only for a short blurb. The final film I'm going to mention is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I saved this movie for last because I thought that it was very interesting. It kind of encases all of what we've been talking about. So the plot of the film is about a priest who performs an exorcism on a young college girl named Emily Rose. The exorcism fails, and as a result, Emily dies. The priest is then charged for possible murder or manslaughter. He gets a defense attorney who is agnostic or someone who does not really believe in the supernatural, but she believes that she can successfully defend him. As the film goes on and they go through the trial, the prosecution attempts to explain Emily's sickness as a medical illness. They go with the explanation of epilepsy and psychosis. They bring in different experts in their field to explain what Emily was going through and to make a case for a physical cause. The defense attorney, after talking to the priest and looking at the holes in the prosecution's argument, actually decides to defend the idea that Emily Rose was really demonically possessed. She looks at possession with an open mind and even finds people who scientifically look at possession. The film shows a mysterious dark presence that follows the case and seems to convince the defense attorney that evil does exist, and she seems to even lean towards the idea of God existing by the end of the film. While the scares and the CGI are very dated, this film came out in 2005 and it feels like it, I thought the film was very refreshing with its take of putting the supernatural on trial. It takes almost a classical apologetics approach to truth, which is relying on logic and reason to give credence to faith, or in this case, the unknown in terms of supernatural metaphysical situations. In a way, this film kind of makes a complete circle back to the original film, The Exorcist. It goes back to the traditional idea of someone possessed and that person relying on, in some way, shape, or form, the power of God to get rid of their demon. And as we have looked into what the adversary, the Satan, really is, we can see that though we don't come across possession the way that films depict it, people are affected by demons and the devil in a very real, concrete way, and that is through temptation to live their lives not according to what God has told us is good. C.S. Lewis in his novel Screwtape Letters creates a story that is much more closer to what I believe is the spiritual reality of demons, and that is that they want to lead us into a place of inner turmoil, hatred, depression, selfishness, and isolation, more so than they will do things like possess a body. Demons deal so much more with influencing us than they do with forcing us to do things. It does not matter how small the sins are, provided that their cumulative effect is to edge the man away from the light and out into the nothing. Murder is no better than cards if cards will do the trick. Indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. While a possessed person in a film might be forced to eat spiders or bugs by their demon, a real demon might tempt you to poison your body with drunkenness, or with not enough sleep, or with a gluttonous diet. While a possessed person in a film might be forced to sexually harm themselves, a real demon might tempt someone to look at pornographic imagery, or catcall someone, or look at a person as a sexual object. Things that the world seems as completely physically human could be much more metaphysical in nature than at first sight. Though you may have complete control of your faculties, you could be more demonically influenced than you realize. Hi everybody, it's Hannah from Metamorphic Productions, the girl who makes all of the videos that you watch.
So I wanted to let you know that this will be the last big video for this year. Now we will have a final podcast that will come out in November, but I'm taking a break for Christmas so I can be better prepared for next year. For 2021, I want to be, even more involved with my ministry than I was the year prior. Going into the new year, I'm very confident in how to make the ministry even better and to make the YouTube channel even better and to finally get the ball rolling on some film projects I've been wanting to do. But I wanted to talk to you about Metamorphic Productions and the M.S.P family. So the names that you see scrolling next to me right now are all of my supporters, my M.S.P family. These are the people that bolster me up, that allow me to do this. So other YouTubers have Patreon. They have, supporters in that way, or they make, revenue from ads. But I keep this as my ministry. I consider myself someone who does ministry work. So just like somebody who would, go out and preach the gospel on the street, and we would consider that person maybe a missionary, I would also be considered a missionary, but I work in the field of art, specifically cinema and film. I get to wake up every day and show people the truth and beauty of the gospel through film as my ministry because of my supporters. And it's just been an amazing journey. God has just been so gracious and amazing. And being able to do this has just been a dream realized. If you're someone who is passionate about film, but is even more passionate about Jesus, then Metamorphic Productions is a great opportunity for you. If you're looking for a place to give, a place to further the spread of the gospel, further the talk of Jesus and God in a very culturally relevant way, and you really love the YouTube channel, you really love watching this content, then being a M.S.P supporter, being a part of the family, is a absolutely great opportunity. It's something you should very much consider. So below is the link to Metamorphic Productions Giving Fuel page. And in every video that we do, there's always the link down there for that page. And on that page, you can become a supporter one time, or you can join the M.S.P family and become a monthly supporter. And you can choose whatever amount you wish to give. Giving should always be done with a cheerful heart and from a place of love and confidence. And so yes, whatever you decide between you and God to give, then please, it would be most welcome. We would absolutely love to have you. Well, that will be it. So thank you guys, and this has been a great year, and I cannot wait for 2021. Happy Halloween, spooky season. Have a great holiday season and stay safe. Bye.